Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs, and this review concerns Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah. And I don't know how good the quality of this picture is, but can you see that I haven't shaved today? That's because I'm doing an Indiana Jones film, yeah. Anyway, I thought, should I do the films in the order they were set, or the order they're made, you know? And then I considered it for a while, and then I thought, oh, what the hell, just do it in the order that they're made, yeah. And I have here this thing, it's a video case for the trilogy, yeah. And here there's, I think, a picture of, yeah, the three films there. Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade. And, yes, they've been put in that order. That's the order they've been set, the order they've been lined up, yeah. So a lot of people, including myself, assume that's the way they're set, but technically they're not. Technically, Temple of Doom is a prequel. Anyway, so we're going to do them in the order they're made. Raiders of the Lost Ark, I first saw it 30 years ago, when I was 7 years old. And I'd never heard of it. No, never heard of Indiana Jones. No, nothing. No. My mother told me to watch this film on TV at 8 o'clock. Didn't tell me anything about it. She just said, you will love it. Yes, you must see this film. Okay, so I gave it a shot, and my favourite scene was, and still is, the opening sequence when they go in the ancient temple in South America, yeah. And when there's that trap that's set off by light, spears come out of the wall, they go over the chasm, yeah, and then there's a bit, if you step on the stones, arrows come out of the walls, yeah. Now, this has all been parodied and spoofed and copied many times before, but I'd never seen anything like it at the time. You know, I was amazed. Wow, that's incredible, yeah. And when he gets the golden idol thing, he has to put something that weighs the same. It doesn't weigh the same, goes down. He zooms off, the guy would give him the whip, so he has to jump over the chasm, yes, and then the big boulder comes chasing over it. It's like a roller coaster ride, you know, it's like non-stop action all the way through, yeah. And then, in spite of all these impossible odds, he gets through it alive. He's just been through all that, and then the evil Belloc steals the golden idol off him. And then he runs away, chased by South American Indians. But he has a backup plan, yes, Indiana Jones, he's used to bad guys appearing out of nowhere. He has a getaway plane waiting for him, gets in that, it zooms off, he barely escapes, and quite early in the film, but already we have a bit of character development, yeah. There's a domestic snake inside the aeroplane, and he's afraid of it. He has a phobia, a fear of snakes. Oh, so he's not frightened of booby traps, not frightened of spears that come out of the wall trying to kill you, but he's frightened of snakes. Okay, yeah. So for me, Indiana Jones, he's really tough, but at the same time, frailty. Yes, he's tough, but sometimes vulnerable. Yeah, at the same time, yeah. And when I first saw the movie, when it was about halfway through, the bit when Indiana Jones is on the big of that statue of Karnak, and he wants to rocket side to side, make a dent in the wall so he can get out. My dad said to me, so you like it then? Are you enjoying it? And I said, yeah, it's better than Superman. Now, that was just the first phrase that sprung to mind, yeah. I don't know what it is that made my subconscious say that, but looking back, I think maybe it's this. Because I love the Superman films that I've seen before. Superman, these great superpowers, he can do amazing things. Indiana Jones doesn't have any superpowers. No, he's just an ordinary mortal man. And yet he can do these amazing things. It's incredible, yeah. It's like the full potential of human beings. Yeah, it's amazing, yeah. And he might get killed any second. Yeah, that's what made it more exciting. How can you survive if you're just an ordinary man without superpowers? You get out the way. The simple answer to that. If something's trying to kill you, you get out the way, yeah. Well, back on the subject of superheroes, yeah. Okay, technically he's a mortal man, but yeah, he's a bit like Superman in that when he goes to the university, he's a professor teaching archaeology. He wears totally different clothes. He has a smart suit and glasses. He's like Clark Kent. Yeah. A mild-mannered man that wears glasses. And then afterwards, when he dresses up like Indiana Jones, he can do anything, no matter how dangerous. This double-hard tough guy. So he's a tough guy, but at the same time very intellectual and respectful. Yeah, he's a complicated man, if you like, yeah. There's more to him than meets the eye. And then another turning point in the story when the army intelligence people see him and Dr. Brody, and so they've got this message about something to do with Tanis. They don't know what it means. And Indiana Jones explains that Tanis is one of the possible resting places of the Lost Ark. I'd never heard of the Lost Ark when I saw the film, but I had wits enough to see it's clearly something very important, some ancient treasure that's thousands of years old, yeah. And for me that sums up Indiana Jones, the whole saga in general. It is the definitive treasure hunt story, yeah. There's the finding clues and riddles and stuff, but then eventually getting your prize at the end, yeah. And Dr. Brody, it's no coincidence his surname is Brody. That's like a little nod to Jaws. Because the way this movie was advertised, you know, on the poster it said, from the creators of Star Wars and Jaws. Yeah, so Dr. Marcus Brody is named after Chief Brody from Jaws. And yes, George Lucas co-wrote the screenplay for this. Yes, he was clearly a big fan of adventurous stories. More specifically, Indiana Jones is, yes, loosely based on the adventure series they had in the 1930s. Yeah. And it would always end with a cliffhanger, like, how's he going to get out of this one? Oh, he's at death's door. How can he escape? Well, watch next week. Find out. To be continued, yeah. And for me, yes, sometimes Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's a bit like, yes, Star Wars, only it's a bit more down to earth. Yeah, it's like the non-stop action element. It's like a roller coaster ride, yeah. But it's Star Wars, but instead of a galaxy far, far away, it's like Star Wars, but on planet Earth in the 1930s. Yeah, it's set in the 30s because it's loosely based on those 1930s serials. Yeah. Oh, a little nitpick, well, a very minor thing, but here it is. There's one of the villains there. Now he's called Ermac in the story. He's like a member of the Gestapo or something. But when the credits go up, he's credited as Toit. Toit. At no point in the story do they call him Toit. They call him Ermac. So that doesn't quite make sense. I don't get it. Is Toit his surname? Was Toit his original name, but they changed his name to Ermac at the last minute? I don't know. It doesn't clearly specify, yeah. Well, speaking of last minute, Indiana Jones was originally meant to be called Indiana Smith. The idea of really cool first name, and but a regular down-to-earth surname. But at the last second, it was changed to Indiana Jones. Why? Indiana Jones just sounds better. Simple answer to that, yeah. We see Marion Ravenwood with a picture of her. Yeah, there she is there. Played by Karen Allen. Anyway, Indiana Jones has to go and see her, but they've got a bit of a past, you know. They had a big falling out, so he can't expect her to be happy to see him straight away, yeah. And she isn't happy to see him, no. And one of the first things he says to her is, yes, I want that medallion, the piece your father collected. And Marion's like, no, I can't give it up just like that. My father's dead. That medallion, it's all that's left of him. It's like an heirloom. I can't just give it up just like that. You know, it's like a memento. So I'll always remember him. Indiana Jones offers her $3,000, you know. Another $2,000 when we get to the States, yeah. Wait a minute, that's a bit like Star Wars. When they offer Han Solo a load of money for something, and then an extra bit more when they get somewhere else, yeah. And yes, another link way to Star Wars is, of course, Harrison Ford, who wasn't the first choice. They had a different actor to play Indiana Jones, but he'd already contracted to be in a TV show, yeah. And plus, George Lucas thought, no, I want different actors. I've already Harrison Ford for several films I've done. I don't want him. I don't want to only be associated with him. I want a variation of different actors. In spite of all this, Indiana Jones did an excellent job. Yeah, he plays the character with great enthusiasm. Yeah, and made the character his own. Yeah. He was no longer just the guy famous for Han Solo. He was famous for Indiana Jones, yeah. So he became a lot more famous. He was already famous, but became a lot more famous because of this role, yeah. And one of my favourite bits in the film is when the truck chase scene, when Indiana Jones gets on the truck, pulls all these Nazis out of it. Oh yeah, they're Nazis. Yes, that's another thing that makes it a bit like Star Wars, because the stormtroopers, yeah, they're called that because they're named after Nazi stormtroopers, yeah. And so this time we don't have imitations, we have actual Nazis in this story, yeah. And in a way that sort of justifies the violence, you know. Normally this sort of film would be a lot too violent for a PG, but they're Nazis. I don't think anyone feels sorry for Nazis, you know, the horrible crimes against humanity they did, yeah. So yes, they make like the definitive bad guys, if you like, yeah. Anyway, when Indiana Jones gets in the truck, he thinks he's gotten rid of all the Nazis on board the truck. He hasn't. There's one left. He gets in the driving bit, throws Indy through the window. He's on the buffer. He's about to be crushed to death. How's he going to get out of this one? Yes, real cliffhanger. I had no idea how he could do it. Well, he goes underneath the truck, uses his whip, yes, his trusty whip. It trails along the back, gets back on the truck, climbs up it, kicks the bad guy, throws him out, and gets the Ark, yeah. So Indiana Jones, he has no concept of surrender. Yes, nothing will stop him, yeah. But then it's the Lost Ark. If the Nazis learn how to use the power of the Ark, they will take over the world. Yes, that's why he's that determined, yeah. There are some things so important, they must be done, no matter the cost, yeah. And something my uncle, who'd already seen it, when he talked to me about it, he said, there's always something happening in this film. That's one of the other things that makes it really gripping. It's not just the great action scenes and everything. It's the bits when they're trying to work out a puzzle, trying to solve a mystery. Yes, it's gripping throughout, yeah. And all the events are relevant. Yes, they're all connected together to make one big story, yeah. And one example of this is the map room scene, where they've got to get the Staff of Ra, because to get the Ark, you have to get the headpiece of the Staff of Ra, then put it in the map room. The staff has to be the exact right length, and then it will show you the location of the Ark, yeah. And that scene, yes, very dramatic music in the map room scene, because it's not just about getting the Lost Ark, no. The Lost Ark, that is Indiana Jones, his heart's desire, the thing he most wants in the world. Yeah, so that's why it's so moving. After years of all the... I mean, what is the thing you most want in the world? You know, that's why it's different for everyone. In this case, the ultimate prize, the ultimate treasure is the Lost Ark, yeah. And then afterwards, what is inside the Ark? It's been missing for 3,000 years. The truth is, nobody really knows. We just know rumours and like folklore and guesses, you know. Does the Ark have the power to talk to God? Does it have magical powers that can make your army invincible so that you never lose? Or does it simply have lots of treasures worth loads of money? Nobody really knows. That's what makes it all the more mysterious and all the more dramatic when they eventually open it, yeah. But is it a good thing? Would it make bad things happen? Is the Lost Ark a bit like Pandora's box? Should some things never be disturbed, yeah. And then finally, when we're very near the end of the film, Indiana Jones eventually gets the Lost Ark, but the Army intelligence people say, no, we're not going to put it in a museum, and we're not going to use the power of the Ark to help our army. No, we're going to hide it away. We're so scared of its power that it's best if nobody ever uses it. And Indiana Jones is like, no, we can't do that. No, it could be used for good. It doesn't have to be that way. If the power was used sensibly and wisely, it could make lives better for everyone. It could defend our nation against any foe. We must use it. And they're like, no, that's not your decision to make. It's too powerful for anyone to use. So they're going to hide it away, which they do. And Indiana Jones, a bit disappointed, you know, they don't know what they've got there, you know, we could use it for the benefit of humanity. It could be really useful for all of us, yeah. A bit disappointing he couldn't use the power of the Ark, but he stopped the bad guys getting it, yeah. And I wasn't disappointed because I thought he found it. He found the Lost Ark, and that was miracle enough for me. After 3,000 years, he finally got it, yeah. And yes, when I was a kid, I used to imitate Indiana Jones, all these crazy stunts and stuff he did, yeah. He was like, yeah, the perfect action hero, yeah. Okay, that's enough for now. Indiana Jones made a huge, big difference to popular culture, yeah. And I have a big poster of this on my room, yeah. Yes. He was amazing in my childhood, and he's still an icon today. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm AD Hobbs, and I'm never bored.